What if I told you that being good could destroy you? That the very thing you have been praised for, your kindness, your honesty, your fairness, might be the reason why you are overlooked, used, or betrayed? Niccolò Machiavelli, one of history's most controversial thinkers, revealed a truth that few dared to confront. Goodness comes at a cost. And that cost is often power, respect, and even survival. In his writings, especially The Prince, Machiavelli made a shocking claim. Men who insist on being good in all things will inevitably come to ruin. Why? Because the world is not ruled by goodness, but by necessity, power, and perception. In this video, we will explore Machiavelli's hidden truth, the shocking cost of goodness, and what it means for anyone who wants to live not as a victim, but as a master of their own fate. 1. The dangerous illusion of being loved. From our earliest days, we are fed a story so comforting, it becomes almost a creed. If we are good, if we are kind, if we put others before ourselves, the world will love us in return. Parents praise our generosity, teachers commend our honesty, society lauds our fairness, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, we internalize the belief that virtue guarantees affection, that morality secures loyalty, that decency commands respect. But Machiavelli saw through this comforting veil and tore it away with ruthless clarity. He recognized what so many fear to admit. Love is rarely enduring. It is transactional, conditional, and ultimately fragile. People do not love us for the essence of who we are. They love us for the benefits we bring into their lives. Our kindness is admired only as long as it serves their interests. Our generosity is celebrated only as long as it satisfies their needs. Our honesty is welcomed only insofar as it flatters or affirms them. The moment our actions demand sacrifice from them, time, energy, attention, resources, the admiration fades. Gratitude, once so effusive, evaporates like morning mist under the heat of the sun, replaced by entitlement, irritation, or outright resentment. A ruler who tries to secure his power solely through the love of his subjects stands on treacherous ground. Their loyalty is as shifting as the wind, ready to abandon him at the first sign of personal inconvenience. The lesson applies with equal force in everyday life. To anchor our security, happiness, or sense of worth in the fleeting affection of others is to gamble with everything. What we perceive as unwavering devotion is often nothing more than temporary alignment with convenience. Those who cling to the illusion of love as a protective fortress may one day find themselves exposed, abandoned, and destroyed by the very vulnerability they once mistook for strength. 2. The exploitation of the good-hearted. In a world ruled by ambition, desire, and relentless self-interest, goodness is rarely a shield. It is a beacon, drawing attention to your vulnerabilities. Machiavelli saw this truth with piercing clarity. Men are not angels, and the world is not fair. People are driven by envy, greed, and the ceaseless urge to gain advantage over others. To be endlessly kind, endlessly forgiving, endlessly honest is not an emblem of virtue. It is a map for predators, a sign that you can be anticipated, manipulated, and used. Consider the man who gives without thought, who lends without expectation, who opens his heart and his hands at every request. At first, he is praised, admired, perhaps even celebrated for his generosity. Yet admiration is only the first step toward exploitation. Soon, those around him are not friends or allies, but opportunists, slowly encircling him, taking, draining, and demanding more than they ever intended to repay. Gratitude is fleeting, replaced by resentment the moment he pauses, the moment he sets a boundary. The same is true in quieter, everyday arenas. The employee who says yes to every request, who works late nights without complaint, who sacrifices personal time in the name of loyalty, is rarely rewarded with respect. He is seen as reliable, even invisible. His obedience makes him predictable, and predictability in Machiavelli's eyes is weakness disguised as virtue. Exploiters do not attack the unpredictable. They circle the predictable, consuming it until there is nothing left. In a world of wolves, the endlessly good are the sheep, naive, vulnerable, and tragically visible. The smiles they encounter are not born of appreciation, but calculation. The kindness they offer is a tool in the hands of others, not a bond. And when they can give no more, when their patience, generosity, or energy is exhausted, the very people who benefited from their goodness discard them without hesitation, leaving only the bitter taste of betrayal. Machiavelli's lesson is stark. Unguarded goodness does not protect, it exposes. It does not elevate, it endangers. To navigate the world wisely, one must learn when to give, when to withhold, and when to cloak virtue behind the armor of prudence. 3. Why absolute goodness leads to ruin. Machiavelli spared no words when it came to confronting comforting illusions, and perhaps no warning is more piercing than this. The man who demands of himself absolute goodness in every circumstance is walking a path toward his own destruction. The world does not run on ideals. It runs on necessity, on desire, on self-interest. To assume that everyone shares your sense of virtue is to navigate life blindfolded, oblivious to the teeth and claws of those who do not. Absolute goodness, unyielding honesty, unconditional mercy, limitless generosity may appear noble in theory, even admirable in stories, but in the harsh theater of reality, it becomes a slow, relentless form of self-sabotage. There are moments when mercy is no longer compassion but weakness, emboldening the cruel and encouraging repeated offenses. There are times when blunt honesty is not integrity but naivete, handing rivals the tools to strike, shaping your transparency into a weapon against yourself. To forgive endlessly is not a mark of divinity. It is a signal to others that boundaries are illusions, that betrayal carries no consequence. Life, Machiavelli would argue, is not lived in absolutes. Virtue without calculation is blind. Ideals without pragmatism are traps. The person who insists on being good at all times becomes a lamb among wolves, celebrated for purity, yet preyed upon for naivete. He is admired in stories, perhaps even whispered about in polite society, while quietly, silently, the opportunists, the envious, the ambitious strip away everything he holds dear. Absolute goodness does not merely fail to protect, it accelerates ruin. To live wisely is not to forsake goodness, but to temper it with awareness, to recognize that virtue without strategy is surrender, that moral purity without foresight is exposure. Machiavelli's lesson is brutal but invaluable. To survive, to thrive, and to influence the world, one must learn to wield goodness like a tool, not a weapon aimed at oneself. Strength does not reside in perfection of character. It resides in mastery over oneself, in the knowledge of when to yield, when to act, and when to guard one's own life amidst a world that will never play fair. 4. The mask of goodness. Appearance versus reality. This is where Machiavelli revealed one of his most unsettling yet liberating truths. You do not need to be good. You only need to appear good. Human beings, he observed, are simple in their judgments. They rarely look beyond the surface, and they accept what they see far more readily than what they cannot see. Appearances govern reality because most people lack the time, the courage, or the intelligence to question them. A ruler, therefore, does not need to be merciful, honest, or religious in his heart. He only needs to look merciful, to sound honest, to perform piety before the crowd. Behind closed doors, he is free to act according to necessity, to make decisions that others might call cruel or manipulative, so long as his mask of virtue remains intact. And this is not limited to princes or kings. In everyday life, this law holds true. The world does not care about your inner struggles. It rewards the image you project. A calm, measured demeanor makes you appear trustworthy, even if inside you are calculating your every move.
A reputation for kindness can shield you from suspicion, even if you are quietly ruthless when it matters most. This is not hypocrisy, it is survival. To show the world your naked ambition, your full cunning, your unfiltered truth is to arm others against you. But to wear the mask of goodness while keeping your true nature hidden gives you freedom. It allows you to act decisively, to protect yourself, to pursue your aims without the burden of everyone's judgment. Machiavelli's warning was clear. Those who try to live as openly virtuous men are broken by the cruel realities of power, while those who master the art of appearing good remain untouchable. 5. When goodness turns into weakness. There is a moment when goodness ceases to be seen as virtue and begins to be read as weakness. Machiavelli understood this transition better than anyone. A leader, or any individual, who is too merciful, too forgiving, too eager to please, loses the respect of those around him. What begins as kindness becomes indulgence, and indulgence breeds contempt. The subjects of a ruler who never enforces discipline will not love him more. They will disregard him, even despise him, for his inability to maintain order. Likewise, in ordinary life, the person who cannot say no, who always bends under pressure, who forgives betrayal without consequence, eventually teaches others that he has no boundaries. And in a world driven by appetite, people test boundaries relentlessly. Goodness without strength is not only ineffective, it is dangerous, because it allows corruption to grow unchecked. A ruler too kind to punish creates a kingdom where disorder thrives. A parent too gentle to discipline raises children who believe the world will bend to their will, only to be broken by its hardness later. A friend too forgiving becomes the convenient dumping ground for every selfish act. Weakness dressed as virtue causes more harm than cruelty, because it creates chaos under the guise of compassion. True goodness, Machiavelli would argue, requires the capacity to be firm, even ruthless when the moment demands it. Without strength, goodness is not virtue at all. It is negligence masquerading as morality. 6. The selective use of goodness. Machiavelli never suggested that goodness should be discarded entirely, only that it should be used with precision, not squandered recklessly. Goodness, like gold, loses value when it is handed out too freely. But when it is rare, when it is given sparingly and with intent, it becomes unforgettable. A single act of mercy at the right moment can inspire deeper loyalty than a lifetime of indulgence. A well-timed gift or gesture of generosity can make allies out of potential enemies precisely because it is unexpected and therefore powerful. Selective goodness has weight because it contrasts with restraint, discipline, and even severity. People do not value what is constant. They value what is scarce. Endless forgiveness, endless kindness, endless openness, these become invisible, expected, and soon taken for granted. But when a ruler, or even an ordinary person, exercises goodness strategically, it becomes a weapon.
It disarms suspicion, it builds reputation, it buys loyalty when it is most needed. This is the kind of goodness that strengthens power rather than undermines it. The wise man knows when to be generous and when to withhold, when to forgive and when to punish. He does not waste his virtue on those who will exploit it, but directs it toward those who will remember and repay it. In this way, goodness ceases to be a weakness and becomes a deliberate choice, a tool of influence, not a chain of obligation. 7. The hidden freedom in rejecting pure goodness. The moment you release yourself from the demand to be endlessly good, you begin to taste a kind of freedom most people never know. This is the freedom Machiavelli pointed toward, the liberation that comes when you no longer live shackled by the expectations of others. Society tells you that to be a worthy person, you must always be kind, always selfless, always forgiving, always transparent. Yet the world punishes those who follow this advice blindly. When you let go of the illusion that you must be pure in every circumstance, you discover that you can act with balance. You are no longer bound by guilt when you say no longer enslaved by the need to please, no longer manipulated by those who use your goodness as leverage against you. Rejecting pure goodness does not mean becoming cruel or heartless. It means reclaiming your agency. It means recognizing that you are not responsible for carrying the weight of everyone else's desires. It means you can be kind when you choose, not when you are pressured. You can be merciful when it strengthens you, not when it weakens you. You can be generous when it plants seeds of loyalty, not when it empties you into the hands of ingrates. This freedom is not about abandoning virtue. It is about breaking free from its chains. Most people live trapped in a prison of appearances, terrified of being thought selfish or unkind. They exhaust themselves trying to be universally loved, only to end up bitter, drained, and unappreciated. Machiavelli's truth cuts through this tragedy. You do not need universal approval, only the strength to live by necessity and choice. When you stop worshiping the false idol of pure goodness, you discover a clarity of mind. You see people not as you wish them to be, but as they are, driven by interests, desires, and fears. And in seeing them clearly, you are no longer fooled by empty flattery or false affection. This freedom, then, is a paradox. By rejecting the demand to be purely good, you gain the power to use goodness more authentically, more strategically, and more effectively. You are free to act with compassion without being consumed by it. You are free to forgive without erasing boundaries. You are free to be generous without becoming exploited. You are free to shape your life instead of being shaped by the manipulations of others. In this sense, rejecting pure goodness is not the path to evil, it is the path to sovereignty. The shocking cost of goodness is not just betrayal, exploitation, and ruin. It is the loss of your power, your freedom, your dignity. Machiavelli's hidden truth is a brutal but necessary lesson. You cannot afford to be good at all times. To survive in a world of wolves, you must wear the mask of virtue while holding the heart of steel. You must learn when to give and when to refuse, when to forgive and when to strike. Goodness alone will not save you, but goodness, wisely applied, can make you untouchable. This is the balance between appearance and reality, compassion and power, the hidden art that Machiavelli has left for those bold enough to see. If you found value in this, don't just watch, apply it. Learn to guard your goodness, use it with wisdom, and protect your strength, because the world does not reward the endlessly good. It rewards the balanced, the strategic, the strong.